Welcome to the 700 Club. If you're like me, I am so sick of the prevarication and the evasiveness of the FBI and also the Justice Department. You wonder what in the world. It's like the inmates have taken over the asylum, and I just can't stand what's being done. And you look at the number of redactions. They send these things, and they redact everything. Big black lines all across all the stuff. And Congress has had it, and the report was Rosenstein was threatening to go after Congress, and of course the Attorney General has come to defend him, and they go back and forth, and you say, what in the world is going on? But what is happening is the FBI has got a tremendous black eye, and today we've been waiting and waiting about 18 months for the Inspector General of the Justice Department to issue his report. And we understand it's going to point the spotlight at Comey to criticize him sharply, and also the meeting between Attorney General Lynch and former President Clinton. It's a lot of dirty stuff, folks. I mean, it's time this stuff comes out, and I, for one, am sick of it. I am a great fan of the FBI. I spoke to one of their chapels, and I've got an award that was given to me, and I just am a great fan of the FBI, but I tell you, it's been tarnished by improper leadership, and maybe in a few hours, we'll have the Inspector General's report, but it's going to be 500 or 600 pages, so it's a big, thick document, and I don't know that anybody can do a précis of it in a short length of time. But Terry, I am up to here with what's going on with that Justice Department. Well,
what's very discouraging also is with all that is going on, what happens? I mean, sometimes it's like you're just given information and, you know, no, you shouldn't have done that. And
you can't defy Congress. Congress has a constitutional duty to have oversight of the administrative agencies of our country. And for them to stonewall Congress is something else. But anyhow, Jeff Sessions has been in the hot seat, too. The president's been trying to get rid of him. It's just amazing. So what's he said?
Well, Jeff Sessions tells one outlet that the president was right to fire Comey and that he'll fire more people if it's warranted. CBN's national security correspondent Eric Rosales brings us an inside look at what to expect.
CBN News sources confirm the Justice Department's internal report will state James Comey defied authority several times during his tenure as FBI director. Sources even use the word insubordinate when they describe Comey's behavior, especially in the handling of Hillary Clinton's email investigation.
James Comey does face potential problems. He came to the conclusion that she wouldn't be charged before the investigation was even completed.
Inspector General Michael Horowitz's probe has already exposed several incidents of wrongdoing. In April came allegations that former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe leaked information to the media in order to advance his personal interests and then mislead investigators. McCabe is now suing both the Justice Department and the FBI for releasing documents about his firing. There are also the thousands of infamous text messages between FBI agent Peter Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page that showed bias against then candidate Donald Trump and other political figures during the 2016 election. The other major subject, Bill Clinton's unusual private meeting with then Attorney General Loretta Lynch on the airport tarmac. It happened only days before Comey announced the FBI would not seek criminal charges against his wife Hillary Clinton regarding her private email server.
The tarmac meeting was the most public example of the corruption of the Clinton email investigation, where you had someone who could have been a target and a witness, Bill Clinton, meeting with the Attorney General, and then the FBI and DOJ desperately trying to cover up the circumstances of that meeting.
Some believe Clinton herself could face charges over the handling of national secrets.
There's no question that by setting up a home server to handle all of her official government communications, including classified materials, that fits the very definition of gross negligence.
Congress is already jockeying to dive deeper into the report, with several hearings scheduled for next week. Eric Rosales, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Eric. We'll have reported that when it comes out. I'm afraid it'll be after this particular program is off the air, but you'll have it given to you, the Inspector General's report, and I think it's going to be unvarnished. It'll lay it on the line. But I tell you, it's time for Congress to get tough. And from what I can see, Chairman Goodlatte, he's from the 6th District of Virginia, is a terrific guy. He is sick of what they're doing. He's demanding action. I think in the Senate, they're demanding action, and they're not going to let these people get away with what they've been doing. The prevarication and equivocation, if I could use a couple of big words, are just sickening, and I think something's got to be done. So maybe this Inspector General's report will begin to lay bare the corruption that has been simmering in this important agency. Well, in other news, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is meeting leaders in Asia, pushing forward the president's agenda on North Korea. John Jessup has more on that.
That's right, Pat. Secretary Pompeo is in China this morning, briefing officials on next steps for fulfilling North Korea's pledge to get rid of its nuclear weapons. Earlier, he met with South Korean and Japanese leaders, saying the administration expects major disarmament by the end of President Trump's first term in 2021, and emphasized sanctions won't be lifted until the process is completed. President Trump told Fox News' Brett Baer verification is crucial.
So verification, you're confident you can set up the system?
Totally confident. And if we can't have a deal. I mean, we have to be, it has to be verified.
President Trump, though, is taking heat for praising Kim Jong-un for calling him smart, talented, and a worthy negotiator. Human rights advocates say that that's too much for a man who has imprisoned and starved millions of North Koreans, and Pat also ordering his own family members to be killed.
I join in that chorus of criticism. You know, there was a op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal today that said, when are we going to start winning? And it's nice to say we've won. It's nice to declare victory and walk away, but you haven't really gotten anything yet. It's nice to say, well, we've gotten rid of nuclear weapons, but we haven't. It's nice to say that they're going to be nice when they haven't. So we'll see what they do. And I want to commend the president. If he's taken the threat of nuclear annihilation off the table, if those people honestly want to reform their country and make it better, I would just be thrilled. I read a book called The Aquariums of Pyongyang, written by somebody who'd been in one of those awful gulags, and I tell you, it chills you right to the bone to think of these people were grabbing grass, anything they could do to fill their stomachs. They were starving in the middle of this thing, and it's still a police state, and you just can't say but so many nice things about people who are murdering others and locking up millions. You cannot lay but so much flattery on them and be the head of the United States of America. So we'll see what happens, and I want to give the president as much credit as possible, but Reagan used to say, trust but verify. Yeah, we'll trust, but let's verify. John?
Pat, German officials say they stopped an Islamic extremist terrorist plot to use the deadly toxin ricin. Authorities arrested a 29-year-old Tunisian man Wednesday. He'd been buying materials online to create ricin since May, and authorities confirmed he succeeded in making the toxin, which they found in his apartment. Prosecutors don't believe, though, the suspect is connected to an extremist organization, but the German newspaper Bild reported the man also bought bomb-making materials and reportedly created ricin using instructions posted online by the Islamic State group. Well, the Federal Reserve is moving forward with another planned interest rate hike. That announcement sent the stock market spiraling more than 100 points. Still, Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell says the Fed's decision reflects steady economic growth and strength in the U.S. job market. Gary Lane has more.
The Federal Reserve has announced its second rate increase this year. It's a scheduled increase of 0.25%, and while that means you may pay a bit more interest on credit cards and loans, it's actually a reflection of a strong U.S. economy. Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell says the economy is in a lot better shape than when he first came to the Federal Reserve in 2012.
The economy is in a very different place. We've Unemployment was 10% at the height of the crisis. It's 3.8% now and moving lower. So really the decision you see today is another sign that the U.S. economy is in great shape.
Growth is strong, said Powell, and inflation is close to the federal target of 2%. The biggest concern right now is fuel prices. President Trump expressed concern about Americans paying more at the gasoline pump just as summer vacations get underway. The president tweeted Wednesday, "Oil prices are too high. OPEC is at it again. Not good." OPEC is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. It includes Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Iran. The job market remains strong. More jobs are now available than there are people to fill them. And U.S. manufacturing statistics show a sharp expansion in output and new orders. Powell said he sees no indication that recent trade disputes with Europe and Canada over steel and aluminum tariffs are hurting the economic outlook. The interest rate increase is the Fed's 7th since it started tightening credit in 2015, efforts that helped keep inflation in check.
We've been very, very careful not to tighten too quickly. I think we've been patient. I think that patience has borne fruit, and I think it continues to.
The Fed now suggests 2 more rate increases may come later this year. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Thanks, Gary. The Justice Department announced a new effort that gives churches relief from restrictive zoning laws. The Place to Worship initiative protects the right to build, buy, or rent facilities without facing unfair treatment from the government. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says the initiative makes churches more aware of their rights so they can fight local ordinances. The new measure is effective immediately. Well, in the first massive stadium crusade since the passing of Billy Graham, more than 35,000 people heard a message of hope and faith from evangelist Greg Laurie. Pat, I was at Harvest America Crusade in Dallas, where thousands pledged to carry the torch of evangelism to the next generation.
Songs, testimonies, and praise filled the stadium as people rocked to the beat of Christian artists like Crowder and Switchfoot and raised their hands and voices in worship choruses led by Chris Tomlin and Phil Wickman. This is all the vision of Greg Laurie, pastor and founder of Harvest Christian Fellowship.
One of the points I'm making is, is Christ living inside of you? And I would pray also for my Christian friends that come, that they would go out with a sense of revival in their life.
The free event also streamed live on the internet to thousands of churches and homes. It featured different speakers and ministries and videos like this one, which paid tribute to Billy Graham, a friend and mentor to Laurie.
This torch of proclamation evangelism, as I like to call it, needs to be passed on. And I don't think anyone will rise to the level of Billy Graham, but I think God could raise up thousands of Billy Grahams, if you will.
In turn, Laurie teamed with local churches and young Christian leaders like this group of about 40 to 50 millennials. He met with them before the main event about using their influence to share the gospel. It's a message that resonated with others too, like Breege, who recently abandoned a drug addiction and dedicated her life to Christ.
Being saved, it doesn't matter where you came from, where you start, where you are now. We're all taken care of in the love of God, and that's relieving to me.
So last year I helped as a follow-up counselor. In fact, my son actually came to faith last year at the Harvest America Crusade. So there's a little personal heart for us in this event.
And organizers and participants of this event hope that Harvest America can be a model for unity for the church, something that they hope to bring to the rest of the country as well. Well, kids under 2 are eating too much added sugar. That's the finding from a new study from the Centers for Disease Control. CDC researchers say extra sugar can be especially bad for young children because it can lead to making bad food choices as they get older. Eating too much sugar has been linked to multiple health problems, including obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and more. Extra sugar is usually found in many foods targeted to kids, like cereals, candy, desserts, sugary drinks, and others. Pat, more bad news as it relates to food.
We've been talking about this. Parents seem to think that they've got to make food sweet in order to get kids to eat it. If the children's taste buds aren't cultivated by sugary food, they will want normal food. They'll eat vegetables, they'll eat meat, they'll eat healthy food. But if you give them sugar pops and all those things that go along with it, there's so much sugar in the cereal that are dished out to children under the guise of them being healthy. There's nothing healthy about it. And we've got an alarming rise of adult onset diabetes, stage 2 diabetes. which is a hideous blight on somebody's health. So you've got a heart condition, you've got high blood pressure, you've got burger disease, you've got all these things that come about from eating this junk. And parents, you know, your kid can't get to the grocery store. You have got to decide what's going to go on that table. And you need to read the labels on those things. And when you see high fructose corn syrup, when you see sugar, when you see added this, that, and the other, don't serve it. You know, Terry was saying to me, do you have breakfast? And I said, yes, I have oatmeal. I had a nice bowl of oatmeal that has some raisins and nuts in it. Mm-hmm. And it's very healthy.
And very balancing.
Very balancing, and it doesn't have sugar in it, you know, and the sweetener comes out. I like stevia, which is a plant-based sweetener, but why not give your kids oatmeal? My kids will eat oatmeal. You can, you know, if you want to on certain special days like St. Patrick's Day, put green color in it if you want to, or you can put pink in it for some of the
green oatmeal.
Green, you know, you can play games, but it's so easy. You get this natural oatmeal. You boil it for 5 minutes or so, and it's delicious. You put a little salt in it, a little butter, and
you're eating intentionally. That's a good thing.
Well, the thing of it is, children do not have to have sweets. Their taste buds are not developed. They'll be very happy eating, you know, non-salt, non-sweetened stuff, because that's the way God made them. But they love vegetables. They love fruit. You know, it's just amazing what they'll eat.
Exactly. When they're hungry.
They're hungry. And
lots.
Don't give them any if they're hungry. But for snacks, I mean, try to have all kinds of, like, carrots and celery and stuff like that, and to have fruit. There's so much wonderful fruit out there. Strawberries and raspberries and blueberries and all these things.
Especially now, right now, everything's
perfect.
Fabulous.
Apples coming out in the fall. There's so much good stuff. So go to that part of the grocery store along the aisles, and don't go to the part that has all the processed food in it. Parents, you are going to be guilty before the Lord if you continue to let your children get so fat and they die and they get sick and all the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, you know, there is an opportunity to set a plan for life when you get them early. So,
amen.
Wise words.
Before long, you know, I won't go into all that, but anyhow, I'm losing weight. I just don't eat that junk. I can't.
I know you are a purist.
No, hey. I'm not a purist. I eat cake and pies and stuff.
Very rarely.
Well, but in moderation.
Yeah.
Okay.
All things.